the Mermaid. In the summer of 1403, a group of fishermen working the waters near the Dutch town of Edam pulled something from the sea that they could not explain. Not a fish, not wreckage. A woman. She was alive. She did not speak any language the fishermen recognized. According to the accounts recorded at the time, she had been found tangled in the reeds along a broken dike, and she was taken to the nearby town of Haarlem, where she was clothed, cared for, and taught to spin. She was taught to make the sign of the cross. She lived among the townspeople for several years. She never learned to speak. She never explained where she had come from. When she died, she was buried in the local churchyard. The story appears in multiple Dutch chronicles from the 15th century. It was repeated by serious historians for 200 years afterward, and across every version, the same question sits at the center of it. Was she a mermaid? The people who recorded the story thought she might be. The people who clothed her and taught her to pray were not sure what else to call her. A woman from the sea, speaking no human language. Unable or unwilling to say where she had come from, we do not know who she actually was, a survivor of a shipwreck, a woman fleeing something, someone the dike collapse had simply deposited in the wrong place at the wrong time. But the reason her story was recorded and preserved and repeated for 2 centuries is that it fit a template people already had. There was already a shape for what a woman from the sea would look like, already a mythology waiting to receive her. And to understand where that mythology came from, we have to go back much further than 15th century Holland. Because the mermaid, the creature we recognize today, with the fish tail and the voice and the longing for the human world, is not one creature. It is 2. 2 separate traditions, born in different civilizations, building entirely different things. One gave the mermaid her body, the other gave her her voice. And they developed independently, centuries apart, before colliding in medieval Europe to produce the figure that Dutch fishermen already knew what to call when they pulled her from the reeds. This is the story of how that happened. Enki. Before the mermaid had a shape, there was water. And before the water had a ruler, there was Enki. Enki was the Sumerian god of fresh water, wisdom, creation, magic, and civilization itself. He was one of the most important gods in the Mesopotamian pantheon, believed to rule over the sweet waters beneath the earth, the underground freshwater ocean called the Abzu, which the Sumerians understood as the source of every spring and river and well in the known world. He was not a mermaid. He did not have a fish tail. But he was the mythological environment in which the mermaid would eventually grow. In ancient Mesopotamian art, Enki is depicted with streams of water flowing from his shoulders, fish swimming within those streams, the rivers of the world pouring from his body as though he were their origin. And in his court, he kept beings who were something the world had not yet named. The Apkallu. They were the culture bringers of Mesopotamian mythology, sages sent by Enki before the Great Flood to teach humanity everything it would need: writing, law, agriculture, architecture, the organization of cities, the knowledge that separated civilization from survival. And they were depicted in ancient art wearing fish. Not swimming like fish, not transformed into fish, wearing them. An entire fish draped over a human figure like a garment, the fish's head above the sage's head, the fish's tail hanging down the back. Not a creature, a human in costume. The hybrid had not yet formed, but the visual relationship between human and fish was being built, carefully, image by image, across the temples and cylinder seals of ancient Mesopotamia. And then there was Wanes. The Babylonian historian Berossus, writing in the 3rd century BCE, preserved an account of a being named Wanes that is unlike anything else in Mesopotamian mythology. He emerged from the sea each morning to teach humanity and returned to the sea each evening. His body was the body of a fish. But beneath the fish's head, there was a human head, and beneath the fish's tail, there were human feet, Not a costume, not a metaphor, a body that was simultaneously fish and human, appearing at the edge of the water every morning with knowledge to give, and disappearing back into the water every evening when the teaching was done. Berossus was writing from records centuries older than his own account. One's may represent a tradition so ancient that by the time anyone wrote it down, no one quite remembered how it had begun. What we know is this. Here in Mesopotamia, 4,000 years ago, was a being that combined a human form with a fish form into a single body. Not to threaten, not to lure, to teach. The fish-human body, in its oldest recorded form, belonged to a teacher. The mermaid's oldest ancestor was not beautiful. It was wise. Atargatis. She dove into the water consumed by grief. The details of what she lost vary across the different accounts that survive from ancient Syria, where she was worshipped as one of the most important goddesses of the first millennium BCE. In some versions, she killed a man she loved by accident. In others, she was overwhelmed by shame at something she had done or failed to do. What the accounts agree on is the water. She dove in, and what emerged was not what went under. A woman above the waist. A fish below. The goddess Atargatis, worshipped across Syria and the Levant, spreading eventually into the Hellenistic and Roman worlds, where she was venerated as Dia, Syria, the Syrian goddess, is the oldest clearly female fish-human figure in recorded history. She is the moment when the mermaid's body acquires a face, and the face is a woman's, and the woman is grieving. The sorrow is built into the origin. Atargatis was not a creature who lured sailors. She was not a danger to anyone. She was a goddess, worshipped in temples, approached with offerings and prayers, associated with fertility and protection and the sustaining of life. Her fish form was not threat or omen. It was the form that grief had given her, the body the water had returned. Her temples at Hierapolis Bambyce were among the most visited religious sites in the ancient Near East. The fish in the sacred pools of her sanctuary were untouchable. To harm them was a serious offense against the divine. The fish were her. The water was her. The grief that had driven her into the water and the goddess that the water had given back were the same being. When Atargatis's imagery spread through trade routes and conquest across the ancient world, the visual template it carried was specific and enduring. Female, human above, fish below, grief at the origin. The body of the mermaid existed. What it did not have yet was its most dangerous quality, its voice. To find the voice, we have to leave the fish-human tradition entirely. We have to go to Greece. And we have to meet a creature that has nothing to do with the ocean. The Keres were spirits of violent death in Greek mythology. Female, winged. They flew over battlefields searching for the dying, waiting for the moment when breath left the body, and carrying what remained toward whatever came next. They were not beautiful. They were not seductive. They did not sing. They were simply present at every death, every moment of violent ending, hovering at the threshold between the living and the dead in the form of dark-winged women. The Keres matter to the mermaid's family tree, not because of what they were, but because of what they represent structurally, the oldest Greek tradition of winged female beings connected to death. Before the sirens sang, the Keres were already establishing the pattern. Supernatural women, wings, the presence of death, and the specific quality of waiting at the boundary between one state and another. The Keres are not the sirens. They are the tradition that made the sirens possible. The oldest layer of the mythology that would eventually produce the creature whose voice killed sailors. The Ba. At roughly the same period that the Keres were haunting Greek battlefields, across the Mediterranean in Egypt, a different winged human-headed figure was being depicted on tomb walls. The Ba. It was not a monster. It was the Egyptian concept of the individual soul, the unique personality of a person that persisted after death, capable of leaving the tomb, of traveling between the worlds of the living and the dead. of being present in both places before the final reunification that the afterlife promised. It was depicted as a bird with a human head, always, consistently, across centuries of Egyptian funerary art. The Ba appears as this specific image. Human face, bird body, the boundary between human and not human rendered visible in the form of a single composite being. Cambridge scholarship has noted that the Egyptian Ba and the earliest Greek sirens are visually nearly identical. Both are human-headed birds. Both exist at the threshold between the living and the dead. Both appear in funerary contexts. The Greeks had extensive contact with Egypt during the Archaic period. Trading settlements, cultural exchange, the movement of images and ideas across a Mediterranean world more connected than it often appears in modern imagination. Scholars have argued that the human-headed bird motif in Egyptian art influenced how the Greeks eventually visualized their sirens. The Ba did not become the siren, but the Ba may have given the siren its face, the human face at the threshold between life and death. The face that looked back at you from the place where one world ended and the next had not quite begun. The siren. Here is the thing that almost everyone gets wrong about the sirens. They were not mermaids. They did not have fishtails. They did not live in the sea. In the earliest Greek artistic tradition, pottery, tomb carvings, funerary art going back to the 7th century BCE, sirens are depicted consistently as birds with the heads of women. Large, dark-feathered birds, perched on cliffsides, open beaks, human faces with expressions that ancient artists rendered as neither threatening nor beautiful, but something stranger, utterly absorbed in the act of singing. They lived on an island, and around that island, the sea was calm and blue, and the rocks were white. The rocks were white because of the bones. Sailors did not die because the sirens attacked them. They died because the music was so precisely, devastatingly perfect that men simply stopped functioning. They forgot to steer. They forgot to eat. They sat in their ships and listened until there was nothing left of them. The bird form was not accidental. In Greek belief, birds existed at the boundary between the living and the dead. They were messengers between worlds. Sirens appeared in funerary art. They were carved onto tombs. They were understood to be figures of mourning as much as destruction, creatures that sang at the threshold between life and whatever came after. Odysseus is the only mortal in myth known to have heard the sirens and survived. His method was practical and exact. He had his crew fill their ears with beeswax so they could hear nothing at all, and had himself tied to the mast with orders that he was not to be untied no matter what he did or said. He heard everything. He screamed, he wept, he commanded and then begged his crew to release him. They ignored him because he had told them to, and they sailed on. What happened next is not in Homer, but is in later sources. After Odysseus sailed past, the sirens killed themselves. They threw themselves from the cliffs into the sea. There are two ways to understand this. One is that they were bound by a prophecy. If any mortal ever heard their song and survived, they had to die. The other is simpler and harder. They had spent their entire existence being irresistible. They had never been resisted. The moment they were, there was no self left to sustain. An identity built entirely on the power to overwhelm others has nothing to stand on when that power fails. It is not a comfortable lesson. It was meant to be. And those sirens who threw themselves from the cliffs into the sea began their long transformation into something new. The medieval siren. The collision of the two traditions took centuries. It moved the way all large cultural shifts move, gradually, then suddenly, then in a form that made the original sources barely recognizable. The fish-human imagery of Atargatis and the Mesopotamian tradition had been spreading westward through trade and conquest for centuries. The siren tradition was evolving simultaneously. In later Greek and Roman depictions, the bird features begin to recede. Arms appear where wings were. The human elements increase. And then Christianity spread through the Roman world. The church needed the siren, not as a literal monster, but as a moral symbol, a creature of supernatural beauty whose song led men away from their proper course toward destruction instead of salvation. The church incorporated the siren into its moral vocabulary, carved her into cathedral stonework, wrote about her in bestiaries, but as the church adopted her, she changed. Medieval artists depicting sirens had access to Atargatis's fish-woman imagery through the same cultural transmission routes that had spread it across the ancient world. And gradually, the two figures began to merge. The feathers became scales. The bird woman took on a tail. The fish woman acquired a deadly voice. And something remarkable happened to the name. Even as the creature became visually indistinguishable from a fish woman, medieval European writers kept calling her a siren. The name outlasted the form that had originally carried it. Which is why today the Spanish word for mermaid is sirena. The Italian is sirena. The Portuguese is sereia. In the Philippines, the word is also sirena. The mermaid wears the fishtail of an ancient Syrian goddess. But she still carries the name of a Greek bird woman who sang sailors to their deaths. 4,000 years. One word. The Rusalka. While the two main branches were merging in Europe, another water woman was haunting the rivers and lakes of Slavic Eastern Europe. She was not a product of any of the traditions described above. She developed separately, independently, from a different grief. The Rusalka was the ghost of a young woman who had died before her time, drowned or killed, or died unmarried and without children. Her death was incomplete in some essential way, and that incompleteness kept her tethered to the world's edge, unable to move on, unable to let go. She appeared near water at night, sometimes beautiful, long, loose hair, pale skin, dressed in white. She danced, she sang, and she lured men into the water, not because she was evil, because she was lonely. The men she pulled into the depths were the only company she could have and the only form of existence left to her. Slavic folk accounts are full of protective rituals against Rusalki, specific herbs, specific prayers, specific behaviors during Rusalka week, the week in early summer when they were believed to be most active. These were not abstract cultural practices. They were taken seriously. In rural communities across Russia, Ukraine, and Poland, the Rusalka was as real a threat as bad weather. What the Rusalka captures that the European mermaid tradition largely lost is grief without resolution. She is not a predator. She is a wound that never closed. A person whose story ended before it was finished, pulling at the edges of the world she can no longer fully enter. There is more psychological truth in the Rusalka than in 100 romantic mermaid stories, and almost no one outside of Slavic mythology knows her name. Mami Wata. She is harder to place in a single category than any other figure in this account, because she is not a historical creature. She is a living one. Mami Wata is a water spirit venerated across West, Central, East, and Southern Africa, as well as in the African diaspora communities of the Caribbean and the Americas. She is approached at riverbanks and coastlines by people who take her seriously as a spiritual presence today. She is described as extraordinarily beautiful, often depicted as a woman with long hair who sometimes has a fish or serpent tail. She is AC/DC associated with water, wealth, healing, fertility, and danger. She can bless or ruin. She can grant fortune or demand sacrifice. She moves between the human world and the water world in a way that makes her simultaneously accessible and utterly beyond human control. What makes Mami Wata's history complex is that her tradition absorbed and was shaped by outside imagery during the centuries of the Atlantic trade. European mermaid imagery, South Asian snake charmer imagery, other imported visual traditions that West and Central African communities encountered through devastating historical contact and processed it through their own spiritual frameworks. She is not purely indigenous and not purely imported. She is the result of cultures under enormous pressure, creating something new from everything available.